I'd like to introduce you to Nish Parekh from Kapdaa, the Offcut company. I'm not going to tell you anything more. You're going to have to just wait and see what he tells you. Thank you.
Yeah, so thanks for sticking around. I wasn't sure how many people will turn up at the end of the last session, just before drinks. My name's Nish. I'm the co-founder at Kapdaa, the Offcut company. I don't know how many of you know about us, but I'm just going to run through what we do and how we came through it. As you know, for every product or any service, there's always the key thing, the three things which I put it up there: a designer, maker, and a user. Traditionally, we all are used to a designer making it, a manufacturer coming along. For example, it's a car, to say, okay, here's a design of the car. Then a manufacturer comes along and says, let's make 10,000 of those, and then it's put in front of us in a showroom or a shop and say, here you go, guys, buy it. Now, what's happened differently in the past 4 to 5 years since I have seen it is, in sustainability, the tables have actually turned. The users have become the driver of everything. The users are now asking that, why can't we have an electric car? Why can't we have an electric car which is cost efficient? Where are my garments made? Can I have a sustainable packaging? And what that's done is, a lot of these big players, whether in the fashion industry, whether in the textile industry, or car manufacturing, they're bound to make these changes. I walked across town this morning and I see the word sustainability everywhere, whether it's a building site, whether it's a bus. I'm not sure whether most of it is real or is most of it is greenwashing. But at least people are talking about it. And that's only happened because people like you, me, have actually put in pressure to say, guys, if you don't tell us where our stuff is made or how it's made and how transparent it is, we don't want to buy from you. And especially over the lockdown period where people had more time to think about what to get, what not to get. And you see a lot of these brands have made changes. They put these long ethical commitments out there. They tell you how much the goods have been flown, what kind of recycling things they've used. And that's great. We love that. We just feel that's amazing, and everyone needs to commit. Not greenwashing, just actually what sustainability is. Where we come in and what our experience is that everyone's talking about the future of leather. Can we get it from any fruit skin, fish leather? Can we get biodegradable packaging? Can we get some garments which are 50% sort of recyclable? But no one really talks about what's currently available and what's in the market. No one really thinks, okay, but what about the current waste? We actually dump 2 million tons of garments just in the UK every year. Have we thought about what can we do about it? But no, we just think about the future. So our key, what our sort of business and our experience and our exposure works around reusing what's already in the market, rather than saying, okay, in 5 years' time, we're all going to be sustainable, but we're never going to get rid of what we already have if we're not going to start thinking about it. And that's where we sort of came across. Our concept was built on, as I said initially, that it was a user-driven. It's a short story. I'll just tell you where it all happened. I visited, my mum's a fashion designer, so I've seen offcuts all my life. So if you've ever been in any studios, if any of your family members, you'll see offcuts everywhere. So I've grown up with them. So after my master's in Kingston, I went across to her workshop in India. And I said, what do we do with the offcuts? And she said, oh, you know what happens. Either they just get stored, or they're just being picked up, or rack pickers, or goes into landfill. So we then decided, let's try and do something different. So we sat down and we cut just 2 simple rectangular pieces, just thin rectangular pieces, pasted it together, 2 lovely fabrics, cut it with sort of these zigzag scissors, and put it in her store. And as customer purchase gifts. And what was it? It was our first offcut product, which was a bookmark. It's as simple as that. You guys can do it. We did it. We didn't have any experience in stationery. And I left. I came back to the UK. I carried on with my work. I was working at Ogilvy. And my mom rang me a month later saying, you know what? These bookmarks actually have started selling. Forget about me giving out as customer purchase gifts. They actually started selling. And that's when we realized that there is a market for an Offcut product. And that's where we started. So that was the user who came to us and said, we really like this. The concept is great. What are you doing here is great. And that's how we went back to say, okay, can we manufacture them? That's where we went back to the design table to say, okay, what all can we manufacture? And that's why I said the tables have turned, that the users have pushed rather than the designer or the maker forcing things on us. What's been happening for the last, I don't know, since I was born, let's be honest. And over the past, so just taking that simple concept of making these bookmarks, we've now worked with over 300 designers, and we've saved around 10,000 meters going to landfill. So it's a very simple idea. You can pick up something and say, okay, what can I do with a broken chair? Or what can I do with an old seat? Or don't be afraid of doing things. I think people are now more receptive. Like, we don't send out, we, as a company in the past 5 years, we've not bought a single piece of packaging material. We go to a recycling center and we just pick up all the old boxes. And we just put a nice sticker on it to say, you know why this is ugly looking packaging, but the goods inside are nice. So, and people are receptive. 10 years ago, if I would have sent a letter or something in a piece of envelope which was all crumpled and sort of split up on the corner, people would be like, what's wrong? Doesn't this company have any money? So I think that's changed. People are okay to get that and say, yeah, why not? So what we're trying to say is that A, sustainability is a lot more user-driven, and B, don't be afraid of trying new elements. Scarves, face masks, as most of you are wearing. That's what came out. A lot of designers started making face masks. Business of Fashion Council got like 10, 12 top designers to make face masks. And they came out of the offcuts. No one really printed new material for it. So that's what I'm saying. Even a lot of things have changed over a period of time. And we always believe that every piece matters. Don't just throw things away. You can make new things out of it. And people are receptive. That's the key thing. Don't be afraid. I think apart from that, I think I just wanted to ask you guys that, how did you, it's small changes which makes us more sustainable. How did you get here today? Hands up, who got a cab? Got a taxi? Got a taxi? There we go, one. Oh, wow. Everyone else walked from the airport or the train station? Anyone walked? Oh, there you go. Good. Cycle? Oh, great. Public transport? Hey, great. I also got on public transport today. So again, it's something like, and it has to be like an event. For example, how it's SEC and we're all here. You could just have a small electric bus, going up and down, dropping us off, picking us from the airport or the train station or something, which can be organized. It doesn't cost a fortune, but it's just different groups of people, different companies coming together to make that change. I was just telling my colleague that I got a bus and I paid £9 to get here. If it were two of us, that's £18, and that's more expensive than an Uber. Uber was £16. So why can't we just say, okay, the bus is a £5 or £2 or £3, encourage people to get there, or get bicycles, we could just rent it out. So it's a collaborative thing, and we as users or the end users need to push it and ask for it, ask the organizations, ask the government, ask the society to say, let's make the change, rather than just sort of greenwashing it. We actually kept the presentation very short. We didn't want to bore you with a lot of slides. We just kept it very simple. The message is very clear. That every piece matters. Don't throw anything away, and you can make things. And there are companies like us out there who would actually create things in a sustainable way at a sustainable cost for you to sort of put that in your stores, give it to your customers, or share it with your customers. And the story is the key. The story is what people buy into nowadays. It's not only just the product or the cost of the product. People want to know where it's made, how it's made, and how did you come up with the idea. So I think that's about it. It's not very complicated, to be honest. Sustainability is quite simple.
So, Nish, if I can ask a question.
Yeah, where?
Sorry.
Yeah. I was thinking, I was like, where's the voice? Yeah.
So let's say, so I'm V&A. So let's imagine that I'm interested in doing what you're doing, and there's some stuff here. I think you could.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to show you some stuff. Yeah.
At some point.
Am I okay to walk around now?
Yeah.
You shot me. Thanks, mate.
This mic is on if you wanted to sit here and use this mic.
No, that's fine. I'll talk a bit loudly. So, sorry, I just got some products to show you that what you could do. So this is like a small piece of fabric which we had. We converted it into a notebook. It's simple. Rather than creating a new material, we just use something more existing, which is beautiful, never been used, but would have been ended up in landfill. So we got good success out of it. Secondly, we thought, okay, we started getting small, long pieces of material. So we created these cool, collapsible sunglass cases. Again, something which we didn't have in mind. Really tiny pieces, created pens. So, why use new material? Because to create new material, you need raw materials. So often, natural resources, water, and so on. So why use them? And then eventually, anything left over is my business card. Just, so, why waste anything? So that's what we do. Sorry, coming back to your question of V&A.
So my question is, if we decide actually we've got our manufacturers or our licensees have all this stuff, can you help us turn that into product, or do you use your existing stuff with your customer base? Is there different sides to your business?
No, so our predominant main business is business to business. So all these designers we work with, they send us all their materials, exactly what you said. That we've got all this waste materials, can you create something out of it? And we look at the shapes and sizes. And over a period of time, we've now come across various templates and sort of technical drawings, where we understand and we can manufacture on a larger scale to keep the costs low. And that way, at least there's no huge minimum orders for smaller companies. And that's how we've been commissioned by Selfridges to celebrate sustainability at London Fashion Week, National Portrait Gallery. With all the waste, different waste, like Mills up in Scotland, we've got Isle of Islay, Holland and Sherry, they send us stuff which are misprints. They always create these hundreds of meters for one particular fabric, but the first 10 meters are always sort of test, so they don't really send that to the client. So what happens? It just sits there, does nothing. And that's what they come to us and say, can you create something? We can use it for marketing, and that's what we do.
So could you tell us where you're from when you ask us?
Hi, I'm Kerry. I'm from the Royal York Battalion in Edinburgh. So we stopped using plastic bags a couple of years ago, and they're all branded. And we're sitting on about 19 boxes, maybe 20,000 plastic bags in our warehouse. And wondering if you've got any ideas how we can, before we send them to landfill, we can do something with them.
I mean, it depends on what kind of plastic it is.
They're biodegradable, so we could send them.
They are biodegradable.
They are.
Great. We will. If they're biodegradable, then we probably take it off your hands, because we package everything in biodegradable packaging for us. The reason being that every product has to be seen clearly. So we started doing muslin bags, we started doing paper bags, but then every time you have to take it out and show a client, because it's an offcut. So every product is different from the other one. So, when you stack it up, you'll have these 50 books, but out of that, there'll be like 25 designs. So you can't keep getting it out. So we use transparent, see-through biodegradable bags. And we just write a small instruction at the back to say what you can do and how you can recycle them. Put it in your food waste. After a while you can do that, and that helps as well. Because the ones which we use, that's what happens. We just put in the food waste, and then it's fine. Yeah, so you send it to us, we'll use it. Yes.
Hi, I'm Jess from the Royal Armouries Leeds. It's not really a question, but I suppose it potentially could be useful, just an idea, that various heritage sites I've worked, we do all have that stock, don't we, that is a design, a pattern that has been made, and we ordered 1,000 of it, and it never sold, and we don't want it in our shop because it's not selling, and we want to put things on that are selling. Do you, if we had, notebooks, pencils, rulers, that sort of thing, that with designs that aren't selling, would you be able to turn them into something that could sell?
We could surely look at it. It depends on how feasible it is for us to open it up, or can we just take a few pieces, make like a combination of a designer pack. Which is different, it doesn't have to be, I'm sure, let's say for example, if you had a Shakespeare exhibition, then you'll have like 10 things, but out of that 7 really sold well and 3 did not. So could we mix it up with something else? and add it as so for example, it's a book which is covered with fabric offcuts, but then we could put a pencil which comes from you, that kind of a thing. So mix and match it, and then also try and see if you can reuse the books, so open the books up. Depends on what kind of binding do they have, how are they bound, are they stapled or they sort of fixed bound like we have. So those kind of technical things, but surely we can look at things and say, yeah, we can sort of reuse it or rejig it. That's what we said. The business came about because what we just did, just try things out and see whether it works. And our whole idea is that we can try it out, because when I started sustainability, the problem was that either sustainability was too cheap and tacky, so you could go to a fair and buy something which is made out of bottle can openers or something like that, which you just buy for fun, but you'll never, like a photo frame made out of an old keyboard, but you'll never put that on your desk on a daily basis, you just buy it for fun. Or sustainability is super expensive, where you can make this table made out of pallets, which will cost you thousands of pounds. So there's nothing in between, and that's where we want to come in, that if you're going to replace day-to-day products with fabric offcuts or any kind of offcuts or waste material and give it to a good quality at a reasonable price, people will buy. Because that's the change people want. They don't want to spend too much on sustainability because they're like, it's too expensive. But if it costs the same, like our books cost exactly like Moleskine books. So that way you can say that you're actually doing good, but also getting the same things which you would have got from any other brand, for example.
Because I was going to ask, are the margins healthy then on those products if they're selling at the same sort of price? I'm guessing the margins must be quite healthy because there's a reduced production cost, or is there not?
Raw materials are free.
Yeah.
So your biggest expense is taken care of. But the margins are pretty high. I mean, depends on what kind of offcut you use. We've had some offcuts which are sort of quite premium from designers, and they sell. So we worked on a collaboration for the Met Museum with America Toronto, and they sold at the Met for like half the size of that book for like $45. And they sold out and called us in 2 weeks to say, can you make more? I was like, no, we can't. We don't have the material left. They're just offcuts. So it depends on the material and what kind of things and how you sell the story. The story is the key, because we have an option of printing it inside. That talks about how things are made and where this collaboration came along and what this fabric was. Example, as you said, you have the old books. You can say this is now recreated from these old books and the reason behind it. And that's what transparency is, what people are looking to now, rather than we just saying, we don't want to say where it comes from. Like we got a call from an airline and say they've got 13,000 sleep suits. Can you take it off our hands? And I was like, what am I going to do with 13,000 sleep suits? Send me a sample and let me see what we can do. Simple one color. I can't say which color because you'll figure out which airline it is. And I asked them honestly, I was like, why are you doing this? Oh, our marketing team thinks that we want to change the branding on it. I'm like, great. I said, can we use your name? Oh no, you can't use our name. So I was like, no, then I'm not taking it off your hands, because there's no benefit of us to do something when you are not being transparent with your customers. So, yeah. Sure.
I'm Suzanne, I'm retail manager at Chesterton. I'm just interested, so in a product like a pen, is like the fabric that you use, is that replacing part of the manufacturing process? i.e., are you reducing other materials, or are you literally just covering a pen?
No. So
material?
every pen needs to be covered with something, right? Whether you take paper or whether you take any new fabric, or you can just use any other metal material. So what we're doing is we're not just adding it, we're not just putting a cover, we're using it as an actual, without the material, the pen, we can't use the pen, because then you'll just go straight into the refills and just a thin bar around it. So the whole idea of everything is that we're replacing any virgin material at every stage, rather than saying, okay, you know what, that's, let's just cover it up. So even our notebooks are made exactly from, we cut it exactly as per the template, so there's minimum waste. And even with our waste, we collected it, the last 1 year, had this huge few bins in the warehouse, and we had really tiny pieces, really tiny, even smaller than these. So we were thinking, what do we do with it? We were racking our heads for so long, and eventually came across Christmas, and we made Christmas wreaths. We just tied everything, and it looked a colourful wreaths full of tweeds, full of like flashy colours, and it worked. We sold out, and we said we should have made more.
So, for example, if we sent you some old uniform could you work with us to create a bespoke range that
Yes.
comes back to us?
Yeah, that's what we do. I mean, we've worked with some of the distilleries in Scotland, and they had these old kilns, which they probably used it and unsold it and so on, and we got them and we created books and the whole experience out of it, and said the story. So we had some pictures inside, how it was first and what happened after that. So, it's like a story when people are sort of buying it, they're buying into the story rather than just a functional product.
I'm Gordon from the University of Edinburgh, and our prime business is selling garments, is selling clothing to students. We've been looking for a way whereby we can get customers to bring stuff back to us when they've outgrown it or they want to buy a new style, return that item to us and then get a discount off a new item that they're buying. But we're looking at a way of what we can do with these garments if we do take them back. Is that something that you could do? If we were taking back garments that were used, can they be turned into something else as well?
So we are currently researching into a new option where we're looking at reusing some of the old post-consumer waste, where we're trying to convert it into a different product. And we have some tests going out in the next couple of months where we're going to test out pallets and pallets of post-consumer waste to try and see what new can be created. Because it's all about giving a new lease of life to all these offcuts or the old clothing and extending the piece of life. Like we were reading in the wrap some stats that if you extend the life of an offcut or a piece of material or a piece of garment by 3 to 6 months, you're actually reducing landfill by 5 to 10% annually. So, it's a huge difference. Our products probably go on for a year or 2 years, depending on what they are. But in terms of garments, yes. Especially if you know the composition of what the garment is, because you sold them, you know what the composition is, then yeah, surely, why not?
Great, thank you.
Nish, I think you touched on this before, but publications. I mean, I think a lot of us will end up with sort of remaindered stock on publications which haven't sold. Is there much you can do with like an exhibition catalogue or a hardback book?
I mean, those can be easily recycled. So, I wouldn't spend too much time on it to sort of remake something out of it, because paper you can recycle it. So it's better to do that way.
Right.
But if there's a creative thing you'd like to sort of make, then just think about something. But I just feel that it's easier and quicker and effective to actually just recycle them rather than trying to make something out of paper, because it might just rip while you're redoing it.
Yeah. Anybody else got any final questions? Well, in that case, I think this has been fascinating for me. I've learned an awful lot.
Yeah, I hope you all try some new products and just go home and see what we can create and find. Just don't be afraid of it, because here we are, 4 years on since we started in that small bookmark, and now we work with all these brands worldwide and mills, and to help them reduce waste. It wouldn't have happened if we didn't try that bookmark. So I'm just here to say, try it. Don't be afraid. What's the worst?
Thank you.